Well, SABC News reporter Nhlanhla Jele joins us live now from Pienaar outside Mbombela in Mpumalanga. Good afternoon to you, Nhlanhla. I can imagine the somber mood that is happening there in Pienaar because these are very young victims that we are talking about. Just talk to us about what our family members saying, what our community is having to say.
Good afternoon to you, Unathi, and to our viewers at home. Indeed, a somber mood here in Pienaar. As you can imagine, the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old whose bodies were found, not only that, but also in just 1 week, 3 bodies were actually exhumed in one cemetery. So you can just imagine how the whole community is feeling, whether they are related or not. But we do understand that from one family, the 3-year-old Peaceful Khoza, who is the victim that was buried last week, and actually when the victim went missing, that is when the community came out and said they saw the suspect with her. We understand that the family actually knows the suspect. We spoke to one of the family members earlier on who told us that they know this guy. He's the friend to the father of the child who died. So they are in shock, they're in pain. Of course, they asking themselves how come and why would do them this dirty, seeing that and understanding that he usually come to the family house when he's hungry, they would dish up for him. When he needs money, they'd borrow him. So it's some of the questions that they're asking themselves. Also, obviously, the community is in shock. The community is scared. Some of the mothers, whether young and old, are telling us around here that they don't feel safe. Some say they can't even sleep at night because they don't know what's going to happen. But just to join me now is Ubonginkosi Tabet, who's just going to speak to us about the developments that we are seeing happening in Pienaar, Unathi. Ubonginkosi, thank you so much for your time and for joining us at the SABC. A sad state of events here in Pienaar. If you can just tell us, how do you feel as a community about what is happening in this community?
No, sanibonani siva buhlungu kakhulu sisaba nokuthumela abantu abethu etitolo ngalendlela kwenteke ngakhona sigcine singasathembani nabomakhelwane bethu ngendlela tinto tendeke ngakhona ngoba kubonakala ngathi kwehle emoya lomumbi indlo le engakhona ukuthi iyehle kahle asikhona ukulala asikhona ukuthembana nabomakhelwane bethu so sidinga ukuthi uhulumende angenelele kule mshopho wendekile nebafundisi bangenelele ngemithandazo kokuthi bathandazise lenzawo yethu because this thing ngabukeka ilula but ibonakala ngathi spiritually ithinga umthandazo and intervention from God ukuthi akhona kusilekelela kubantu bethu ukuthi bavikeleke because kubulawa abantwana labancane nabantwana labancane ngiyibo lesibuke ukuthi balikusasa lethu kumbe ifuture yethu so ba innocent then bamane babulawa babathemba kulabo malume babo khona la emakhaya so kubhlungu kakhulu singumphakathi sicawuke kakhulu njengami ngibiyele empakeni one of my ward ethu la khona la so akujabulisi nakancane noma esikolweni ufisa nokuthi ngathi ungahlala umgadile singakhona ukuya nasemsebenzini.
Siyabonga mfundisi. Thank you so much to Ubonginkosi Tabet Unathi. As you have heard him, as a community they're in shock. They don't even feel comfortable with sending their own kids to the shop, just to go buy mere bread because they don't know what's going to happen. As he has mentioned earlier, that some of these people these kids actually trust these guys who are around. They call them malume, they call them uncle. So they are shocked as a community to see the state of events or affairs that are happening in this community. We also understand, Unathi, that the funeral of the 2 kids is expected to take place tomorrow here in this very community. And as you said earlier on, it's a somber mood. However, community members are out in their numbers, to provide support to the families. If you remember correctly, when Junior went missing, the community came in their numbers. They mobilized to try and look for him. The same thing happened when Peaceful also was reported missing. The community came out in their numbers to try and look for him. And obviously, when they apprehended the suspect, beating him up, that's when he came up with the truth to say he buried this one here, he buried this one there, and obviously was arrested. We also understand that he's expected to make an appearance, his second appearance in the court next week, Monday. He was expected to appear on Friday, Unathi, that we just came from. But because of the injuries that he has sustained when the community beat him up, he could not make it to court, but he's expected again in court on the 15th of July. Unathi?
And Nhlanhla, before I let you go, I mean, of course, this is the memorial service of the 2 children, and the community, as you say, is reeling. But just in terms of the suspect, I mean, he is young. He's 18 years old. What else do we know about him? Was he known in the area? What can you tell us? Because we know, of course, he's still in hospital, as you also rightfully pointed out earlier.
I couldn't quite hear that question, Unathi, but we do know, as I've mentioned earlier, that the community is out in their numbers. And this is a close-knitted community, Unathi, for the fact that when Peaceful went missing, one of the community members actually came up and said to the family, I saw Peaceful walking with this certain young man, and then that's when they apprehended him, and obviously he showed where he had buried the body of Peaceful. And sadly for them, when they got there, the family told us that they are very sad because they were close to the suspect who allegedly raped and murdered and set her body alight. So the families, the community is sad. It's actually packed in this church behind me, and some of the community members are actually scattered outside here because there's no longer space. So you can imagine what it's going to look like at the funeral. But also on that, Unathi, the community is outraged. They're looking for justice. They want somebody to be held accountable. One of the community members said to us they want the suspects to talk and lead them to this syndicate. They believe there's a syndicate that is happening because they feel that should this person or the suspect who's currently in hospital and recovering from the injuries not tell them who actually sent him, because they believe he's too young for him to just think of this as a plan on his own and decide to kill these children. They believe that there's somebody more powerful behind him. They want him to actually point out to that person so that this thing can be cut from the roots, Unathi, so that this thing doesn't continue in the community. As you can imagine, 3 bodies exhumed in 1 week in the same community. So the community of Pienaar is in shock. Everybody around here is living in fear. Unathi?
And rightfully so. And Nhlanhla, thank you so much for that. Of course, a disturbing story that we are tracking for you this afternoon. Nhlanhla Jele there out in Pienaar in Mbombela in Mpumalanga at that memorial service.